In this video of the Historic Ordnance series, we're going to look at a Danish mine, the M56 non-metallic anti-tank mine. Now, this mine is a direct copy of the French model 1951-52, also known as the M51, also known as the MIAC ID 51/52. Now, I do not have a list of countries that received quantities of the French model 51. I also cannot find a list of what countries have received quantities of the Danish M56. But the one country that I do know for certain that has received massive quantities of this mine is Ukraine. And as everyone should know by this point, anything sent to the Ukrainians, well over half of what was sent to them ended up on the international arms black market. So these mines are going to make an appearance. The question is, where are they going to appear next? Now, information on this. It is 12 inches in diameter, 4.5 inches in height. Weight is 20 pounds, of which 18 pounds is the explosive content. And the explosive content is TNT. There is a 1 pound booster made out of RDX located here directly below the fuse well cover. And this mine is constructed out of cast TNT. The entire mine is TNT reinforced with about 5% of its total mass of fiberglass. They mixed the two together in the casting to make it more solid so it wouldn't come apart. The only parts that are not made out of TNT is the rope handle, which is cast into the body, and the bakelite fuse well cover and fuse well below it. Everything else is cast explosive. Now, this mine has 2 secondary fuse wells, one on the side here, and you can kind of see in this drawing here, there's another one right off of center on the bottom. The pressure fuse for this is the M66, and that is what this is down here. And it takes a minimum of 660 pounds to a max of 1,100 pounds to set this mine off. Now, how this mine is constructed. This version, the Danish M56, is 2 pieces. You have the main body and the pressure plate, both made out of TNT. They're added together, my guess, before the body is fully dried. It's still wet, it's still hot, so it can still be formed a bit. So they add in the pressure plate. The pressure plate does float inside the body here, but it has enough contact and enough fusing with the body to hold it in place that it takes over 660 pounds to break this pressure plate, push it down, and set off the fuse. Now, temp range for these mines for employment is -58 degrees Fahrenheit to a max of 122 degrees Fahrenheit. These mines are packed 4 in a crate, and my guess is this is a spacer here. There's also 2 tubes in here, and inside each tube is 2 detonators. Each detonator comes in a small little plastic canister sealed with tape. You unwrap the tape, you take the cap off. Inside the cap is the separate detonator. It's kind of set in there in this little protective donut. And then in the bottom of the canister is the fuse itself. You also have in this crate one arming tool, I think is what we'll call it. The originals that came with the mines reportedly is made out of wood. But in Ukraine, apparently they have been 3D printing some of those arming tools out of plastic, and they're just using those for arming the mines. Now, installation on this is incredibly simple, and the instructions for doing this is inside the U.S. Army Special Forces Engineer Sergeant Manual. So first thing you do, you're going to inspect the mine, you're going to inspect the fuse, you're going to inspect the detonator. Everything passes, it's good to go. At that point, you are going to remove a dummy plug that is kept inside the fuse well here to prevent damage. You remove that plastic piece out of there and discard it. You will then go through and prep the fuse. You will unscrew this nut down here at the bottom of the fuse. You will insert the plastic detonator into the nut and then screw it back on to the fuse. The fuse is prepped. You're then going to put that fuse inside that little shipping container, or depending on how these mines are getting laid out, you can put it inside the fuse well. But in this situation, we're going to say we're taking it up to the mine site and we're going to hand and place it. That is the primary means that this is meant for emplacing, because it is cast explosive, it is not plastic. Once we get to the emplacement site, we're either going to surface lay it or we're going to bury it. If we bury it so that the top of the soil goes to the top of the mine here, and you just have a little bit of stuff that's going to go over the top. Figure a max of about 1 inch of dirt over the top of the fuse well. So we got our hole prepped. We're going to place the mine inside the hole. At this point, we are going to remove the fuse well cover using the fat end on the arming tool down here, this big square part that looks like a hammer. Put it in there and start unscrewing the fuse well. You are then going to insert the M66 fuse down into the fuse well, and the fuse will sit down in the main body of the mine. You're then going to screw the fuse well cover back into place. Tighten it up, but don't crank it down. And then camouflage the mine. It's ready to go. Now for removal, first thing you're going to do, you're going to check around that area. Make sure there are no protective mines or booby traps to try to catch the deminer or the sapper who's trying to remove this mine from the minefield. As you come across those, take care of them. After you've cleared the area around the mine, you're going to locate the mine, and it's going to be damn near impossible to do unless you know its exact position. The reason being, the only metal in this entire mine is inside the fuse here, an extremely small firing pin and a very, very small Bellevue spring in here that looks, say, about the size of maybe a nickel, an American nickel, but considerably thinner. And note, those are the only metallic components in this entire mine. This mine is pretty much undetectable by any current means, except by maybe ground penetrating radar. But once you locate the mine, you're going to uncover it. You're then going to go through, check the mine for anti-handling devices. Check the sides, check underneath. If an anti-handling device is discovered, destroy the mine in place. Do not continue with removal. If no anti-handling devices are discovered, use the arming tool, open up the fuse well cover, reach inside with 2 fingers, carefully remove the M66 detonator, set it to the side, put the fuse well cap back in, or cover back in place, and tighten it on there. You will then remove the mine from the hole using a grappling hook, just in case. You will then take the fuse and you're going to separate the detonator from the fuse itself, and you're going to turn in all three pieces to the mine dump for either reuse or destruction. I do not have an estimated combat life that these can be in the ground before there's any signs of degradation. There's no information on that. It's a simple mine. Apparently it's one of the hardest ones to detect because of so little metal inside them. And reportedly they are working really good inside Ukraine because they're hard for the Russian sappers to find. But the trade-off on that is going to be, once the war is done, these mines are going to be a major issue to try to locate on the battlefield for demining. So there you go. The information on the Danish M56 non-metallic anti-tank mine. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember Essayons.